I'm beating every N64 game, and I mean all of them. The twist is, the next game I play is randomly selected, so I have no clue what's coming next. This is the journey to beating every N64 game. Last week we drove around in circles for 10 years, and this week we're gonna blow some spaceships up. Hey, welcome to another episode. If you do enjoy this video, consider giving it a like, as it does help the channel a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. Game number 16, Star Soldier Vanishing Earth. Released in 1998, developed and published by Hudson Soft, a great dev from back in the day. As is with many of these games, I had absolutely never heard of this game before, but since I recognized the dev, I was a bit excited. Turns out this game is a shoot 'em up, which is one of my favorite genres to play. I don't know, it's just fun to be like an all-powerful ship and blow up hundreds of other dudes. The main single-player thing in this game is just called normal mode, so we'll be completing that to beat this game. So the first thing we do is pick our ship. There's 3 to choose from, which is kind of a typical amount for a shoot 'em up, or shmup for short. The blue one's really fast and has more concentrated fire, the red one's a bit slower and has a bit more spread fire, and the green one is the slowest, but its shots spread out the most. I decided to go with the green one for the first go, and then we were right into it. So this is a vertical shmup, but the options allow you to rotate it to make it play horizontally if you want. If you aren't familiar with this style of game, basically it's a giant auto-scroll where tons of enemy ships appear and shoot projectiles at you, and you have to blow them up while dodging all of their projectiles. One single hit and you're dead. This game is pretty standard as far as shmups go. You have your basic shot, which you can just constantly spam. Then each ship has 2 different special moves, which you can only use when you pick up a bomb, which is called EX in this game for some reason. This ship has a lightning attack, which hits all the enemies on screen, and the other shoots a concentrated beam of energy to deal huge damage in a line. You're also picking up power-ups along the way, which increases your ship's firepower for the basic attack, as well as more bombs, which are the E things floating around. Anyway, this first mission was pretty simple with hardly any enemies on screen. Then the boss showed up. Codenamed Duos Core Ver 3.3C, this thing was a pretty big jump in difficulty. There was just too many projectiles being launched at me, and I kinda got owned. Game over before beating level 1. After getting game over, the game showed a screen showing some hidden level hints, which we'll get into later. Next attempt, I went with the blue ship, which is ridiculously fast, but its firepower starts out so poor. However, once you get it leveled up a bit, it's pretty good. One issue in shmups is if you die, you lose power, and that happening is very bad for us, especially in the later levels. Thankfully in this one, you only lose 1 level of power rather than all the way back to the start. I got kinda wrecked against the boss and had to start over once again. So now I guess it was time to try the other ship I haven't used, the red one. This ship starts out with a really strong shot with pretty concentrated spread, but once I leveled it up, it didn't really get any stronger other than having some of the bullets go backwards. I'm not like an expert in shmups, but I just can't see how shooting backwards is very helpful. Either way, I was doing alright with it, and I was finally able to make it past the first boss. Looking back, the first boss isn't that hard, but hey, I'd never played this game before. So on to mission 2 we go. This one has us like flying over the ocean. The environments in this game are really awesome, honestly. A nice mix of like current technology and futuristic stuff too. This mission didn't get too much harder really. There weren't too many projectiles being shot at you, but the enemy ships did have way more health than in the first mission. Still nothing too dangerous here, and we made our way to the second boss, codenamed Death Integrate. Hopefully it doesn't make me do any calculus. This boss starts to transition you out of the tutorial phase of the game and into the get good phase. There's a mechanic in this game where you can do a barrel roll and have a shield surround you. This protects you from any projectiles and actually deflects them back. You need this from when the boss uses its laser attack, or else you're guaranteed to die. This mechanic is crucial for later in the game. Even with the more complex attacks, this boss wasn't too much trouble now that I knew how to use my bombs and to use the shield. I beat it with only 1 death. On to mission 3, and now we're apparently flying through some sort of space base. This mission started to show the flaws of the red ship because it was hard for me to kill the higher health health enemies with the little firepower it had. I just don't understand why it shoots backwards. Anyway, it still wasn't very hard to make it through the regular level portion of this, so on to the boss we go. And the third boss, codenamed Dark Force. This boss starts off a lot different with it moving around all over the screen, even behind you. Definitely caught me off guard right off the bat. Then later in the fight, it starts shooting these giant blue pulses of energy at you. This is where if you don't use your shield, you just have zero chance. The shield can deflect those energy pulses back at the boss, and without it, good luck dodging those. With the shield used pretty well, this boss isn't too tough. On to mission 4, where it looks like we're on Mars. It was starting to become really difficult to destroy many of the regular enemies with the red ship, especially these long ones that kind of look like a rack of ribs. Even without being able to kill many of the ships still, it wasn't too hard to get to the end, as long as you avoided the huge satellite things that shoot a laser beam at you. The fourth boss, however, was a completely different story. Codename Intruder, this guy does not mess around. The fight started out innocent enough until one of the arms detached itself and shot a massive laser that took out the entire screen. Like there's literally no way to dodge this one without the shield. Then later the arms connect with a giant purple electric beam that again cannot be avoided without the shield. And finally it goes into an additional lightning phase that's a lot more manageable. I died quite a few times on this one, but I had a bunch of extra lives from the previous levels, so it was fine. Mission 4 complete. To mission 5 we go, and apparently we're back in space flying near Jupiter. I haven't mentioned it yet, but this game's soundtrack is amazing. Like, I suggest you go check it out. Things kinda started to go downhill here. Remember how I said that you lose your firepower if you die? Yeah, dying once is okay, but dying multiple times is very, very bad. I had a big spree of deaths before even making it to the boss, and each death just makes it snowball more and more. If you don't have enough firepower to take out the ships, that means you have to rely more on your ability to dodge their attacks. I was going into the fifth boss in bad shape. Codename Falcon, it immediately hit me with an attack that limited the playing area with electricity and just spammed projectiles everywhere. I instantly died and my firepower was all the way at the minimum. Having basically zero firepower combined with not knowing this boss patterns was not a good time. There was just death after death and it was getting about as bad as it could have. Luckily, each time you die, you spawn with one bomb, so I was able to get some decent damage output on it. Finally, I destroyed both of its arms and it just starts spamming purple energy at you. This phase was much easier to deal with, and I made it past the boss, however, on life support. On to mission 6, where it looks like we're in some kind of solar panel farm or something weird. Unfortunately, my lack of firepower from all the deaths in the previous mission made this basically impossible to kill most of the enemies. Somehow, I managed to make it to the boss with one life to spare. It was up to me to beat this boss without taking any damage. Things were going pretty well, and yeah, okay, y'all knew I wasn't going to beat it first try damageless. I decided to go with the blue ship for my second go around as the concentrated fire it offers is just too good. After selecting it, to my surprise, it started me over back on mission 6. I didn't expect that at all, honestly. It's kind of a double-edged sword though. While I do get to keep my progress, I had to start mission 6 with the minimum firepower. In the end, it just wasn't worth it to continue with such a weak ship, so I started the game all over. One thing I learned while replaying it is the Z button bomb from this ship is absolutely nuts. It just sends this massive directed energy beam and it deals so much damage to bosses. This sealed the deal that this was definitely the best ship for me. Eventually, I did make it back to mission 6, and it was going so much better with this ship. Because I was able to melt the previous boss with the Z-bomb, I started this mission at full power, and it was so easy to destroy even the really tanky ships. So on to the 6th boss, codenamed Divine Device. It's basically this huge stationary turret thing that shoots some fire and I didn't really get to learn any of its other moves because I just killed it instantly basically. To my surprise, the mission continued after killing it. Apparently that was just a mini boss, so on we go. There was one really tough section along the way with lots of laser beam shooting ships and I somehow managed to dodge all of it. So then it was on to the real 6th boss, codenamed Duos Core version 9.8. This boss was a bit weird in that it would every now and then leave the area and spawn some turrets that would shoot various projectiles at you. Destroying both of its arms prevents the turrets from being able to spawn, then it just starts sending rapid small projectiles at you. While I did die quite a bit, just using this this ship's Z-bomb over and over each time you die will just melt this boss. It's actually so overpowered. Finally, it was on to the last mission, Earth. This mission doesn't have a regular level or anything like that, it just immediately dumps you into the final boss. Unfortunately, we don't get a cool code name for this boss or anything like that. This boss shoots so many projectiles at you that they cover the entire screen, but good use of the shield makes them useless. It also had a huge laser attack, but my laser makes me invincible, so that was useless as well. I killed it in like under a minute, and I was like, what the heck, that was way too easy. That's when phase 2 started. The boss basically has this huge arm and it uses it to charge at you and also shoot energy at you. Unfortunately for the boss, my laser is still absolutely broken and I killed it without too much trouble. That's when, yep, phase 3. The boss is now this tiny little prism looking thing that just moves around the screen rapidly while just constantly shooting attacks. I guess this is like its last ditch effort phase or something like that. There's also a 2-minute timer during this phase, which that hasn't happened all game. Luckily for me, it only took like 30 seconds cause let's be real, that laser is OP. The game then plays a brief cutscene where it shows your ship docking onto a bigger ship, so I guess we made it away safely and saved the Earth. Then the credits roll. Game complete. Well, sort of. Remember those secret missions I mentioned earlier in the video? Yeah, we're going to do those too. When you beat the game, you unlock an enemy viewer which lets you view 3D models of every enemy as well as mission select, which is a nice quality of life thing to have. I decided for these secret missions, since they're additional content, I just look up how to obtain them rather than spend my time on my own trying to find them. The first one was in mission 2. There's a spot with like 4 green structures and 1 red one. If you blow up the green ones, then the red one, a secret path opens up. This secret path was much more difficult than any of the other regular levels. There were far more ships, and they seemed to shoot a lot more projectiles than all the others. Outside of that, nothing was too different about it. One thing to note is after a secret path, you don't fight a boss. So then we go on to the first secret mission. This mission isn't too different from mission 2, just there are much more enemies like in the secret path. Not too much else to say about it other than it's cool that these exist at all. Then we come to the first secret boss, codenamed Banded Heck. It's like this huge thing that starts by spinning and firing lots of projectiles before lowering a huge cannon off the bottom of it and firing a huge laser at you. Fortunately, my laser's way more powerful, and I was able to beat this boss no problem. So on to the second secret mission, which is located during mission 3. Near the beginning of the mission, there's a group of enemies where all but one of them are blue. We want to only kill the red one. Doing this caused the ship to change course to the secret path. This secret path just has a ridiculous amount of enemies in it, but thankfully it's super short, so it's pretty easy to make it through. The second secret mission has you going through what seems like some sort of abandoned area or something, cause there's hardly any enemy ships here. Instead, there's a ton of giant asteroids. It kind of reminds me of that one mission in Star Fox 64 where there's a bunch of asteroids at the start. Anyway, it's not too hard to get through this area with there being basically no enemies, so on we go to the boss. Codenamed Doge Vayhaven. This thing is just a giant robot with a huge arm that seems to punch you. However, my OP laser melted it and broke the arm off immediately. Then its other arm kicks in, shooting a green orb of energy at you, until the final phase where it just shoots a bunch of lasers and stuff. Nothing too difficult with this amazing laser, and I took it down as well. So the final secret mission is located in mission 4, and it's pretty tough to unlock. About halfway through, a group of green and red ships will show up. You have to only kill the red ones, and it's so annoying to do. And even after unlocking the secret path, getting to the mission itself is hard. It's probably the hardest regular level section in the game, honestly. The third secret mission is wild. The music picks up and it's much faster paced, and so are the enemy ships. There's tons of small, fast-moving ships in this one, and it's kind of rough with the blue ship. The green one would honestly probably be better for this mission. Eventually, you come to some weird eyeball ships, and then the boss. Codenamed Starbrain Mark III. It's kind of an underwhelming boss for the final secret mission. It just kind of casually shoots projectiles and then dies in one laser hit. Oh wait, that's because it was only a mini-boss. The level continues on in the same way as before until eventually you run into more eyeball ships. Then it's time for the real boss, codenamed Big Star Brain Maxima. This thing is huge. It has 2 giant arms on the sides that shoot at you, but the OP laser makes quick work of them. Then it has a rear arm that shoots at you, finally followed by a huge crystal that shoots a big laser. However, with my super overpowered laser, it's no big deal. Final special mission complete, and the game is fully complete. So there you have it, my journey to beating Star Soldier Vanishing Earth. This is one of those games that this challenge is awesome for. I probably would have never heard of it, and it was really fun to play. I had no idea there was a game like this on the N64. It was a little easy on the side of shoot 'em ups compared to something like Ikaruga, but it was still very fun. And the secret missions were a really cool idea too, I thought. The music was amazing, the gameplay was really nice. I give it an 8 out of 10 for enjoyability, just the only issue was how short it was. I wish there was more. And I give it a 5 out of 10 for difficulty. But yeah, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. If you did enjoy the video, consider giving it a like as it does help the channel out a lot. And if you like this series, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and here's a sneak peek at what is coming next. So we took out Star Soldier. Yes, it is gone now, you can see. 292 games on the list. Still don't have Japanese games. What'll it be? 94. What is that? Harvest Moon! This is the game I was saying, it doesn't have an ending. Alright. I guess we'll see what we do for Harvest Moon. We'll have to come up with a clear condition.